Well, I'm up here in Michigan now. That's recreational. They were medical first and had, something like 300, almost 400,000 patients on it. And
Wow.
when rec came in, it went down to 3,000, of which I am one.
That same sort of situation happened in Montana, where most of the medical patients stopped renewing their card, even though it saves them money in the long run. They just don't get around to it.
They don't understand the importance of demanding safety in medicinal cannabis for themselves and demanding information and demanding to see that third-party lab test to make sure there's none of that Truly was passing on in their first vapes.
Right. Yeah.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Cannabis Truth Podcast, where we speak the language of cannabis freely and uncensored, while educating our audience on safe use of this live plant therapy. You should know what's in your cannabis, what's good and what's not, because cannabis does not come with an FDA stamp of approval, yet. The information you will find here comes straight from scientists and clinicians, doing the work and reporting their findings in reputable outlets. Hopefully, we can inspire you to research the facts as we know them today. Cannabis is an amazing alternative in health remedies, with the potential to alleviate typical disease problems and troubling side effects, even those caused by synthetic prescriptions. Here now is the host of the Cannabis Truth Podcast. She is a 21st century cannabis shaman, not a doctor, not a scientist. Raised by nuns and wolves in the verdant cattle pastures of the Oklahoma oil fields, here to amplify the truth of this great big story of cannabis in historical, political, scientific, and spiritual terms, so you can make educated decisions about the medicine you choose to ingest. Please welcome Honey Smith Walls.
Wisdom and a fire in her eyes.
Oh my gosh.
It was so
Talking
fun.
plant truth where the
It was
silence
fun. It was. I love making songs for all of our.
from the roots to the bloom. She saw
I've
the
never had a
light.
song sung about me
Now she's
before.
teaching folks how to
It's
heal
awesome.
it right.
And we've got a lot of really cool tools for producing music these days, so you can do some incredible things.
Let me turn it down now because it is always at the end of my show for everybody to groove to. I cannot tell you how much I love that music. And everybody, welcome to the Cannabis Truth Podcast. Daniel Rome is here with us, as well as Hannah. I'm sorry, darling, I don't know your last name.
It's Rome. I'm his wife.
Yep.
Hannah Rome! Well, there you go. What's that old saying? When in Rome?
Yep, absolutely.
Heard that all your lives.
I keep getting asked if we're just roaming around,
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cute. Tell me, how did you all get started doing this?
The podcast stuff, we really felt that there was a lack of education about cannabis products in the industry, whether that be industry to industry or if that is, industry to consumer or whatever. Either way,
Government to consumer, everywhere around this. At least the state of Montana is pretty rough in any sort of education for the people at all.
and there's so much more information out now than there was 10, 15 years ago. People just don't know about it. So if all we do is just act like normal people in the cannabis industry, then I consider that a success.
Well, yeah. And thank you for jumping into this industry as leaders trying to get the truth out.
Right.
This is what I find, such a conundrum, because the myths and lies and mysteries and all that horse shit is still going on between the government, the truth, the plant, and the people.
And also, I mean, it's getting better, but there's a whole generation of people that grew up with the reefer madness propaganda. Yes.
Yeah.
And they still 100% believe that.
This is your brain on drugs with a
Right.
sizzling egg in a pan. And that was all thanks to Nancy Reagan, the wife of our President Ronald Reagan. And so, yeah, that was a devastating blow to our society when they started that whole machination of lies.
Right.
And incarcerated everybody, for using what could have settled down our society so much more,
Oh, yeah. I think a good hot box in the White House would do some good.
I think that some peace would be made.
I don't know. I feel like it could go around.
I bet you more bills would be signed if they smoked joints in session, for sure.
Oh, I think so too. Absolutely. Yeah. And in every session of every parliament around the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've just got to get some bigger, better ideas that are easier on society than blowing each other up.
Right. But I do have good news, though. We're starting to see some I wouldn't say necessarily like pro-cannabis runners in Montana, but we're starting to see some groups that are more interested in supporting candidates who, are open to cannabis and things like that. So it's not a main policy driver for anyone in our state, but we're seeing more and more people on both sides of the aisle that are like, yeah, cannabis stuff is whatever. That's fine with me. So I think that's progress.
That's progress. It really is. And that's when it's going to, finally flip over in legislation, is when they're just kind of ho-hum about it. Yeah, it's okay. All right, go ahead,
Right.
And yet they're still ignoring it. They're still ignoring the science. They're still ignoring that it's not only medicinal, recreational, it's industrial. This country would not be what it is today were it not for cannabis, and for one specific reason I talk about all the time. White guys never would have made it over here without cannabis.
No. All of our sails were made of hemp fibers, right?
And rope too. You can't shove a boat across an ocean without sails and rope.
No, you cannot.
They were already using all of that stuff, by the 15th century, and had been for millennium.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the facts that are coming out now in science about cannabis. And I'm wondering, what are your laws in Montana?
There's it's crazy. So there's the cannabis industry in Montana is actually separated into two distinct parts. You have the hemp industry and you have the marijuana industry, and they are treated completely separately.
Yeah.
I can't really personally speak to the hemp industry, and I'm not sure Hannah could either, because we're not really part of that.
Not a clue.
But for the marijuana industry, the laws are extensive. So basically, THCA produced by marijuana plants specifically are the only thing that's legally allowed in Montana. We do have specific restrictions against Delta 8, the alternative cannabinoids and stuff like that. So the only way you can get high is with weed, I suppose. Now, I understand that all of it is weed, but that's besides the point. Yeah. And then for like quantities, you can buy 1 ounce per day as a recreational customer, and you're only supposed to have 1 ounce with you.
An ounce a day?
Yes.
Obviously, those yahoos don't know what the fuck they're doing.
No, it would be pretty. And then what's crazy is that for our medical system, you're limited to 1 ounce per day. But you're also limited to 5 ounces per month. Now, that sounds like a lot, but the way the edibles are calculated, 100 milligram edible counts as an eighth of flour. And so if someone is a heavy edible user, or they eat, 3-4 gummies a night before bed or something like that, they could run through their entire medical allotment. And we have medical patients that do all the time. So
because they don't know what they're doing in medicine and cannabis.
No.
But recreationally, you can have, again, like Daniel said, you can only have 1 ounce on you at a time, but theoretically you could buy 30 ounces a month.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Our medical, you can only have 5.
And you can tell that they don't really care about the medicinal aspect of it legally because, um, well, if you run out of your medical limit, you can still buy rec as long as you pay the extra taxes.
Yep. So our recreational tax in the state of Montana is 20%. There's a 3% county option, which some counties have taken, some haven't, which I was kind of surprised about. And then the medical is 4% for the state, and then the 3% county option as well. So
let's make it really mathematically difficult for somebody to understand what they have access to in a state that's still rolling with legislative laws that don't want people to use cannabis.
Exactly.
Right?
It's getting so ridiculous. Our edibles packages are limited to 100 milligrams per package, and they're really they did pass that the new serving size is down from 10 milligrams to 5 milligrams. So it's just a bureaucratic mess, and you're making people eat more. Or just making them cut it in half. You're just having to give them extra serving annoyance. It's
the manufacturers aren't changing anything. They just cut the gummies in half one more time.
It's just an annoyance on every front.
It's terrible for businesses. We still have no advertising, no banking, no credit card. None of that stuff that a real business gets to do, even though we're called a real business by the state, but federally, of course, we're all illegal.
Always. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Hi, Honey Smith Walls here. I'm host of the Cannabis Truth Podcast, weekly for the past 6 years. But today I'm inviting you to a Facebook group called the Holistic Relief Summit in hopes that you too will come for the peace and stay for the epiphanies. It's a beautiful space for women to find all kinds of relief from all kinds of suffering. Come join us for free.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Philip Blair, and I want to introduce you to Honey Smith Walls. And she recently had an experience with beta-caryophyllene.
For years, I've been dealing with lots of arthritis pain and pain from neuropathy that has not been resolved through other prescriptive methods. As an advocate educator in the cannabis industry, I learn lots of interesting information about the compounds within the plants, and one of those turned out to be beta-caryophyllene.
What was your first dose like?
I was gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. It has given me my future back.
I want to get it out to everybody too. I want to get it out to the whole world, as a matter of fact. It has so many mitigating factors for all the stresses of life and pain and diseases. It is unbelievable, the spectrum of care that it can provide.
Oh my goodness. Tell me where you all began getting your education in cannabis. I mean, I went to, I went through several doctors who were, at the time, there just weren't any schools, and these doctors were giving private classes and stuff to help teach. And so I went through Dustin Sulak from Maine and, just lots of people. How about you all? Where did you start to find your info about all of this and gather your knowledge?
I'll let you go first.
It's really been more, for both of us, I feel like I can kind of say it's been a lot more personal research and just being in the industry in Montana. Otherwise, there's really no other way to, I guess, kind of get any information on it. Because like you said, no one's really doing any schooling on it.
That's right.
They're
haven't seen any cannabis business classes.
No. That's been a whole other learning curve, but
yeah, it's just been taking what the legacy market brought to the medical market in Montana 20 years ago, 21, I think now this year, and what the recreational market has really downturned in the last couple years since we went rec. It's just everybody figuring it out, and they made it such a dog eat dog world in Montana that everyone's just on a competitive level, so no one wants to share or talk to anyone or share any secrets or see their gardens. They just think that you're out to try to steal their secret sauce, right? And it's been unfortunate, but I don't know.
I think hopefully the community is coming together more and more, and I believe it has.
It does, especially going up north and seeing like the places up in Bozeman when we were doing the stuff for the Best in Grass. It was
So for people that don't know, Montana is a ridiculously huge state.
it
It
is.
takes probably you could drive in Montana for 9 hours going 70 and you'd still be in Montana. So
And
Yeah.
I have.
yeah, yeah.
From
So
corner to corner, it's the same distance from the corner of Montana down to Texas.
Oh
So
my-
it's
yeah.
a
So
big state.
so when the west side of the state and the east side of the state are far different places, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah. So seeing a lot other communities seem to be a little bit more close knit again because we kind of have to. Being recreational, you have to be out in the county, so everyone's kind of usually lumped together with all of their shops or
That's the other
manufacturing
thing
stuff.
too,
And
right?
oh
In
yeah,
Montana, it's illegal to have a dispensary inside of a city. But here's how that actually works. So this is all just zoning trickery, as
Sure.
that anyone in a city has dealt with before, where you just have like one little square in the middle of a city. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
That is technically not a city.
Yeah.
So that's where the dispensaries have to go. So then you get
So-
like 30 dispensaries in like a tiny little spot all in the city.
yeah.
It's not ideal, really. And we have I don't know if this was the Montana Economic Research Department or if it was the federal, but we know now through federally funded research that dispensaries in areas does not increase crime in those areas. So there's no reason to not let dispensaries go pretty much anywhere. I mean, obviously we'd respect commercial zoning just like any other business, but
And
let us in the city. Let us in the city.
even in some of our county that is literally across a count or a like land line from being city,
Uh-huh.
we still have to follow the beautification and everything of the city planning. And we're city, but we're county zoned, kind of. It's
Right.
technically right.
Rural.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird.
I was down in Florida when it came into medical in 2016, and they wouldn't even allow a dispensary barely inside the city limits, but it had to be in an industrial section. So
Yep.
talking, chat and gravel.
And then the
parking
dispensary.
lots, right, for all these elders walking in with their canes and mandilas. Here, let me see if I can get across this ditch in this busy highway before I
Yep.
get over. And then they frisked you as you went in the first door, and then they made you give away your first child as you went through the second door just to get into the dispensary to sit down and have to write out your whole life history, and then you get to go back into the inner sanctum and choose something way too wrong for you, but you don't know because you don't have any information on any of those compounds. You don't know what to choose. They don't know what to tell you. They don't give a shit about your health.
Right. No, that was one of the biggest when I first got back into the weed industry and I was kind of shopping around at different shops and getting to know the bud tenders and all of that. You could really tell when you go into a shop and you ask the bud tender a question, they're like, I have no idea. You're like, do you even smoke?
Smoke, yeah.
What are you doing?
Here.
Yeah, we couldn't even smoke the raw leaf in Florida when it first came out. It was vape only and the nastiest stuff that felt like shards of glass going down your throat. Wonder what that was, because it sure wasn't weed.
Mhm.
No, for real. Because now that we have clean tested vapes, we know that they can be good. So what the hell were they doing?
What were they doing? And that was truly, I took back so many carts to them because
Yep.
it felt like my throat was being ripped out.
Mhm.
Dang, that's interesting.
That's
So
crazy.
you've said you've been in a few different states that have been legal, right, honey?
Well, I'm up here in Michigan now that's recreational. They were medical first and had, something like 300, almost 400,000 patients on it. And
Wow.
when rec came in, it went down to 3,000, of which I am one.
That same sort of situation happened in Montana, where most of the medical patients stopped renewing their card, even though it saves them money in the long run. They just don't get around to it.
They don't understand the importance of demanding safety in medicinal cannabis for themselves and demanding information.
Right.
And demanding to see that third-party lab test to make sure there's none of that shit that Truly was passing on in their first vapes.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
something that's going
scary to be out there. You all are primarily into the recreational aspect of it, I'm hearing.
Yeah. So we have outside of the podcast that we do, that we invited you to and had just a wonderful time on. We also work in the cannabis industry, and so yes, we do a dispensary, but here it's pretty difficult to survive off of medical only in Montana, because there's only 15,000 or less medical patients left at this point for the whole state. And in a state as large as ours, that's nothing. So
yeah,
Nothing.
yeah. And of course, being of which I am one of the only. And again, if you look at like the medical limits, if you're a heavy cannabis consumer, I can't consume within my 5-ounce monthly limit. And I know that sounds like a lot, and maybe it is, but
those edibles really added up.
edibles, a tincture counts as a quarter. A pain cream counts as a quarter, so you can only get a couple. I mean, you just start putting those things together.
It is a quarter, or not a quarter, sorry, an eighth. So like any of your cartridges. Going on to cartridges, we can't have full gram cartridges in the state anymore. They all have to be half gram or just under.
If they test over 80%.
If they test over 80%.
You can still buy 2 half-gram carts, though. That's totally fine.
You can still buy your full ounce worth. It's just extra hardware and, whatever.
And it's just extra hard to figure out the damn math. This blows my mind that we have to think about all of this stuff.
Right. Yeah. And ultimately, I don't really know what their goal is, because if their goal was to prevent the black market from growing, that's obviously not happening. If you can look at any legal state, and with lots of data, it's not a debate. We can talk about it. Black markets are hurting the industry everywhere. And so if that's their reasoning, then that's not working. We got to find a better system, better reason. Limits are only hurting the dispensaries. People aren't going to come in and buy a pound.
Well, and especially like for any 420 event that you're going to, there's what is it? The bus that they take around that you can hop around most of the shops around town, but you can only buy your ounce for the day. So what are you going to do? Don't not actually take advantage of those 420 deals.
You can only get
your. Yeah.
And if we can't have social consumption lounges, what is the point?
That was actually specifically, unfortunately, that was written into law this session in Montana, that we are specifically not allowed to smoke marijuana indoors, period. With the exception of cigar lounges. So the the hoity-toity cigar guys can go have their cigar bars, but if you smoke weed, you're...
Hoity-toity is right. Those are rich guys, getting Havanas. Really,
exactly.
hand-rolled Havanas. And it pisses me off to no end that they get to go do that, but we can't sit out here and medicate, feel good, and calm our anxiety, and enjoy our thrill, and none of that.
Well, and ultimately, Montana's really, we're a libertarian state. I know we get painted red and purple all the time, but why do they have to bother with us anyway? Like, there's so many more important things to be worrying about politically. Like, just leave me alone.
My goodness.
Oh, honestly. Well, I am tickled to get to chat with you. Tell me, what is it that you want to accomplish with your podcast, and who is it that you particularly like to follow in just watching the industry, as we evolve?
I can lead that one off if you want.
Yeah.
I think my goal with this podcast, like we have a whole team here, and we all have our own goals, but we all work as one unit. My personal goal with this podcast is always to just destigmatize, just normalize. I'm not, none of us are the devil. We're not doing anything evil.
The devil's lettuce. I think it's God's kale.
God,
Jim Belushi. I'll take it.
oh, that's wonderful. In a lot of emerging markets, they focus on the medicine portion of it to kind of highlight how important it is. But really, to me, it should be treated no differently than alcohol. I don't really drink anymore, but I don't have a problem with people that enjoy a beverage every once in a while. So they shouldn't have a problem with me enjoying a toke. That's how I feel about that.
Do you know how many people I keep hearing saying, I don't drink it. I don't really drink anymore. I don't really drink anymore, including me. Champagne was my drink. I don't really drink anymore. It's been a couple of years. And that's because my body is calm, in balance, at peace. I don't feel like I need the alcohol to give me that little lift, to get me over the hump, to get me feeling just a little bit better.
Right.
I need that.
Oh, yeah.
That gives me upset tummy and hangover. And
right, yeah. Just
liver.
bad news bears
I
now.
don't need that.
Yeah, no thanks. Be down and out now for a couple of days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
It's
anyway, well, I wish you all the best of luck. Are you on episode 56? Is that what I saw?
I think we're headed into 58 now.
59.
Oh, awesome.
58 was
It goes
last
fast.
week.
It goes fast. Are you doing it weekly?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every
Yeah.
Friday
We
at
missed
8:30.
1 week in this month, which is actually, it's a little sad.
It is.
It's the first episode we've ever not done. So
It is.
we've, but sometimes you need a week off, okay, guys?
It's been a very crazy month for us.
Yep.
Dispensary life-wise, podcast-wise, it's been very busy, and we unfortunately just needed a day.
Yep.
Can I tell you something? A little behind the scenes secret. When my spouse died a couple of years ago, I thought, oh shit, I got to do it. I was current. I hadn't stacked my podcast stuff a bit. Life had been happening, and I was current and had to get something out. He croaked, and oh God, what am I going to do? And I decided instead of skipping, I was just going to go on and say, sorry, not going to be a podcast this week because, and all that. And I was glad I did it because people know me and they know I'm authentic. And it's okay to have too busy, overwhelmed, life smacking you upside the head, and for you to go on and say, hey, we'll be back next week. Listen to our old podcast listen to our favorite podcast, listen to this podcast, blah, 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 whatever it is that you had in the past or one of our first ones or whatever, or just throw some good music on. And that way it keeps you steady in the algorithms.
True.
Okay.
That's so important.
And people are going to know you and see you for who you are anyway. You're charming and lovely and real and authentic. And that's what people are looking for. They don't need, they don't need fake anymore. We need the truth. And we're seeking that. So I'm wishing you all the very best. And I want you to know how tickled I am to have allies doing this with me, educating even in the recreational industry, and especially up where it's so difficult, in your neck of the woods. Woo, it's big territory up there. And you've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're growing.
Oh, yeah.
And growing.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. How do we get in touch with you? How do we find the 406 Budcast?
Absolutely. Do you want to do a big plug, or I can do a big plug?
Oh man, I think you might be better at doing plugs anymore. I'm not on the show too much anymore. I'm behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I do all the directing. I yell at all the
Oh,
people.
that's awesome.
These days, you can find us anywhere you just want to look up the 406 Budcast or 406 Budcast. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Actually you'll start to be able to find some of our music on Apple Music, so you can just look up that. Where else?
We do have Super Boof on iTunes at the moment. Did you say Facebook? We live
Say
stream.
Facebook yet, and supposedly, by the way, guys, Facebook is supposed to be getting a little bit less strict about all of this cannabis stuff. So hopefully, you'll see us be in the algorithms a lot more. That could be very helpful for all of us, including you, honey.
Yeah, no.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yes.
And we are hooked up online on Facebook together, and I'm always thrilled for you to post any of your stuff either on my page or in any of my, forums or anything. So
Okay. Awesome.
please, let's work together and make sure everybody understands what the truth is about cannabis. All right.
Okay, sounds good.
So sweet being with you. Thank you so much. I just love hanging out with you. And once again, thank you for that amazing song that you all created for me. I just love it. And so does everybody else. Everybody was blown away by it. And you're going to hear it again at the end of this, everybody. So thanks so much, Daniel, Hannah. I just love that you've been here.
Well,
thank you guys
for
so
having
much.
us.
It's been such a treat, honestly.
Oh my gosh. Since we heard that you were going to be on our show and we got to watch a couple of your podcasts, I was so excited. So it's been an amazing treat working with you too. So we look forward to it.
Thank you so much. We're going to do some fun things. I've got a show coming up, the first cannabis consumption lounge in Canada.
Ooh.
Coming up soon. And so maybe we can collaborate and do something and get you all there too. It's just right over the border for me, but let's work together. Let's do some stuff.
No promises on that one. We can definitely check, but we'll have to do something eventually because
absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
You all take care.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much, honey.
Talk to you later.
With a warrior's mind, yeah, honey, no.
You've been listening to another Cannabis Truth Podcast with 21st century cannabis shaman Honey Smith Walls. Using cannabis mindfully as medication is a different concept in Western healthcare philosophy, specifically over the past century. There's a lot to learn and reconsider. The scientific truth of cannabis is finally getting out and is wide open for all to see at respected medical sites like the National Library of Medicine at pubmed.gov and the Journal of American Medical Association at JAMAnetwork.com. We here at the Cannabis Truth Podcast are right there in the thick of it, alongside the titans of medicine, as a fly on the wall. We are not doctors, nor did we go to medical school, but we have taken dozens of private cannabis courses and still engage in continuing education offered by expert cannabis scientists. Over the past few years, we slowly began to see and understand the bigger picture. Now we hear from people all day long about cannabis. It is so important to use verifiably safe products. The process of getting a diagnosis from your family doctor and taking your records to a cannabis specialist can lead you to the correct cannabinoid therapy for your specific issues. Otherwise, you're simply your own guinea pig looking for answers without the foundational knowledge or ability to determine your best strategy. To find a qualified cannabis expert in your area, visit cannabisclinicians.org. This is a national society of cannabis experts. Look for the link in the show notes. Unless otherwise proven by a reputable third-party lab test, please regard all street weed as contaminated. It may do grave harm to a patient with a delicate immune system who already has inflammatory issues like arthritis, IBS, fibromyalgia, or worse. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you find value and understanding through the conversations you've heard on this podcast.
A quick shout out to Nathan Pierce and Daniel Rome of the 406 Budcast and their brilliant tech goddesses who created what you're about to hear next.
She walked in with wisdom and a fire in her eyes, talking plant truth where the silence lies. From the roots to the bloom, she saw the light. Now she's teaching folks how to heal it right. Not afraid to challenge the tale of lazy myths and a system that failed. She's got science in one hand, stories in the other. Lifts up the voices they tried to smother. Honey knows, honey grows. Truth in the soil and love in the smoke. Speaking for the elders and the ones left behind. She's the shaman of the leaf with a warrior's mind. Yeah, honey knows how the healing flows. From Florida sun to digital waves, she's breaking down fear with every word she says. Cannabis truth, that's her battle cry. For the mamas and papas still scared to try. She ain't selling hype, she's serving facts. Taking big pharma to school with class. With a mic and a mission, she lights the way for the lost and the curious every day. Honey knows, honey grows. Truth in the bud and peace in the dose. Teaching the plant like a sacred art. From the ECS to the beating heart. Yeah, honey knows how the healing flows. She's been burned by the system, lifted by the plant, giving voice to the ones who thought they can. A sister, a sage in a world full of smoke.